Injury-wise, nothing too crazy. I think Roger left the game, didn't come back with the shoulder. We'll see where he's at this week. Still don't quite know exactly where all those things are at this point. And then Kenneth Murray left with a hamstring strain towards the end of the game. And again, we'll see where that's at as the week goes along. Those are the two that are of note from the game. And then we'll just again see how Wednesday comes along. But feel the exact same as I felt last night. That was a surprising result. That was a game that I felt confident we were going to play well in. I thought the week of practice pointed to that being the case, and then really a sort of a compounding of errors early in the game led to a lead that was hard to overcome to get to that point. Played better in the second half once we settled down, but too much to overcome in the early part of the game. There's some positives to point out, but at the end of the day, we didn't do well enough, particularly early, to give ourselves a chance to win.
Is it such a point that like one win qualifies as such a level of success that guys have trouble dealing with coming out of it?
No, not at all. I mean, no. We, as I even said last week, is that it's one win. We haven't arrived. We haven't done anything that would require us to have to worry about that. And all we're trying to do is stack good weeks together. And I thought we were on a good trajectory, a big win on the road, and then to come out and play the game the way we did was just disappointing. To go down in that game early and not be able to come back. And there's no part about anything that I feel or our team should feel is that we should have an issue dealing with that. And again, that's after the game and in the heat of the moment. But we shouldn't have had any issue.
I think there's the two things that are involved in that. One, I think the scheme with the quarterback run game is unique. They do a good job. We didn't do a good enough job. I don't think we fit a couple of runs well enough. And sometimes when you misfit a run, it pops for 5 or 6 and we wrap it up. But we misfit a couple that pop for 15 and 20 and 30. And that's where the issue comes in. So we definitely misfit some runs. We weren't necessarily gapped where we were supposed to be gapped out. Part of that's the linebacker spot. I thought we could have been better setting the edge, physicality-wise. I thought that there was one or two that got out on the edge that we didn't do a good enough job. So it's an everybody issue. When you give the runs up the way we did, it's especially in a one-back run game, it's the old one back, one gap, and everybody's got to be where they're supposed to be. And you have one guy out of position, that can lead to an explosive run. And that's what makes run defense hard, is that everyone's got to be right, and we weren't right enough times.
What efforts, if any, were made in game to try to address the bleeding in the run defense?
Yeah, I mean, you talked to Denard probably more about the specifics of calls and stuff, but certainly try to find some things that, try to hit a couple calls that you can try to knock a run or two out, which we did a couple times. But really it was just the accumulation, one, of them having a big lead and being able to just keep handing the ball off, and two, of some misfits and not necessarily gapping the runs out the way they should have been. And again, you just over time of the game, it wore on, and we couldn't quite stop the bleeding in the run game over the course of 4 quarters. And again, there was some good stuff that happened, but it's the ones that we missed that they made us pay for, unfortunately. I didn't sense that. Look, those guys are entitled to say what they think and feel after a game, and sometimes they say things that I didn't necessarily see the same. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, you have a performance like that, and you're sort of grasping for an explanation on why. And there really wasn't one, other than we made too many errors early in the game and put ourselves in a hole. And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, what it was. You watch our first punt and our punt cover, you watch those guys cover, and the energy and the effort, the excitement, and the defense is coming onto the field. There wasn't anything early in the game that made me feel like we were at all in that place. And, we give up a long run for a touchdown. And then we don't do much on offense the second series. We get a first down or two and put ourselves in a spot to convert a 3rd and 4. The ball gets batted. Those things happen, and then they go down and they score another touchdown. It's 14-0 pretty quick. And before we even really have a chance to do anything with it, we fumble the ball on offense again, and they go down and score. and then we fumbled the ensuing kickoff return, and they go down and score, and all of a sudden it's 28-0. And there really wasn't a lot of football to be played at that point. But the football that we did play wasn't obviously good enough at any point. And so when you ask a guy after a game how they feel about things like that, I think they don't have the perspective. They haven't watched the tape, and they are also searching for an answer that doesn't feel like it was a surprise to them as well, that it got out of hand so fast. And so, yeah, I didn't sense that at any point during the week. I didn't think that was something that we were going to have to deal with. And, my message all week to those guys is that you deal with two things in the NFL all the time. And you deal with either prosperity or adversity. Those are the two things that you deal with. And things are either going poorly or they're going well. And both are equally difficult to deal with in their own right. And those are things that you have to work through. And, and then the message on Saturday before the game was you got to prove it. Prove that last week is who we are. And we didn't do a good enough job of that. So I didn't have any sense at any point during the week that we had relaxed or thought we had arrived. That certainly wasn't anything from my side that I felt, and I just think the mistakes led to an early lead that was insurmountable for us at that point. Yeah, I think he did some really positive things again. He stacked really 4 weeks now of growth and good football. I thought he made a couple really fantastic plays, and again, when you're dropping back that many times with that kind of deficit, you're getting everybody's best stuff. You're getting their best rushes, they're getting their best pressure. And I thought he did a nice job of trying to keep fighting through the game and finding completions. Still got things to work on, but I'm very positive on the things that he did in the game throughout the course of it that showed that he's still growing and still getting better. And again, there's plenty of things that he's got to keep continuing to improve on, and some things that we can keep manufacturing in practice to help him, particularly with the pocket. And some of the escapes in the pocket where we're not taking 1 yard sacks, we're getting on the perimeter and maybe making some plays or getting a chance to extend it. So those things are things we'll continue to hammer. But yeah, certainly a good enough performance by Will given the circumstances. And just like you said, the word is consistency. And he's on top of his. He very rarely has a mental error. He's willing and physical in the run game. He blocks his tail off in the run game. He does a lot of the dirty work too, because he's so sound and knows where to go all the time. And then when the ball's in the air, he makes plays. And everything about how he goes about his business, his approach, his professionalism, is what you want. And you want as many of those type of guys as you can find. And he's the example to me right now of what that's supposed to look like. And I'm happy for his success. He's deserving. He's earned it. And he just continues to keep making plays, and we keep throwing the ball. He keeps making plays, and that's been a really positive development, both for him professionally and for us as a football team.
His gap a couple of times.
Yeah, he had a couple misfits, certainly. Those are things that he's got to clean up, and I think we can be a little more physical at the point of attack, helping him out from the other spots as well. But yeah, there was one or two that he misfit that let some runs get out.
That was a pretty.
I don't know if Rid felt like because what happened is Will started going left, and I think Rid kind of checked back and saw him going left out of the pocket. I don't think he realized that he had a clean lane. You can't necessarily see where the quarterback's at, but he felt them leave, so he was trying to figure out if he was going to turn back and try to get back in a scramble drill with them. And then the ball shows up. So he's trying to see where Will was at. Didn't realize Will had still had a pretty clean access. Thought he might have been scrambling because of the time. But again, those are things that we got to connect on those. That's still another big play that we left out there, and just got to do a better job and continue to run the route and not reacting until it's time to react. Yeah, of course. That was alarming to me. We practiced in it all week. We were out there all week. It was colder here at practice than it was in the game. Again, if that's the case, that to me sounds like that's an excuse. But no, that was about as fair weather a game as you could possibly ask for in December. So I can't comment on where that would have come from, to be honest, Paul.